Today, I'm thrilled to share my thoughts on the brand new Apple Watch SE 3 in midnight, where today I've got both versions, the smaller 40mm version as well as the larger 44mm version, and I also have the previous SE 2 to compare and share my thoughts as we go. As with the Apple Watch, there's always so many different options to buy, and I definitely have some thoughts and recommendations for which band, which color case, and all that to choose, which I will be sharing as we go throughout this video. But first, I am giving away this brand new iPhone 17. And for a chance to win, be sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and subscribe to my second channel, Tech Book by Dion, link in the description. And comment your favorite feature of the Apple Watch SE 3 along with your Instagram username, and follow me on Instagram at Dion Schuddeboom, where I'll announce the winner on the 31st of October. And let's get started with the unboxing. So I've got both sizes. Let's go ahead and start with, let's go with the 40mm version first, and then we'll do the larger size after. So in terms of pricing, the pricing has remained the same compared to previous years, where the 40mm version will start at $249, and the larger 44mm version will come in at $270, and then you add $50 if you want the cellular version as well. And I've got to say, these are really attractive prices for what are feature-packed watches. So in terms of the unboxing, here we have the interior. So here is the brand new Apple Watch SE 3. Let's take it out of this little paper wrap here. There we go, looking good. All right, so as you can see, I chose to go with the midnight aluminum color. I think this is the best color option, but I'll talk more about the specific watch color and the band in a second here. But check that out, looking good. Matte finish here on the back and nice rounded design of the SE 3. Now, I'm really excited, particularly for the SE 3, because it actually brings some really big upgrades to the SE line, much more so than the Series 11, which I just unboxed too, but I'll leave that video linked in the description. So we'll talk more about those upgrades. But first, also in the box, here we have the charging puck. So there we go. I just want to check that is USB-C. And then over here, I want to make sure that this is the aluminum version, not the plastic version. And yes, we do now have the aluminum version of the charge puck on all Apple Watches. This is the same one you'll find on the Series 11 as well as on the Ultra. Great to see. Speaking of charging, the SE 3 now can charge at up to double the speed compared to the SE 2, so not as fast as the Series 11, but still double the speed as before. This is great if you want to just wake up, quickly plug in your watch, and then be ready to go for the entire day. Beneath the charger, we have your paperwork, which is going to be very simple, basically just your warranty information and nothing else. And let's take a look here at the watch band. In this case, I have the Midnight Sports Band, which again is going to be the best version, I think, for most people, and I'll get on to why in a sec here. But as you can see, looking really, really nice. And of course, this band here will pair perfectly with that midnight color of the SE2, SE3. Check this out. Looking good. A little bit of paper there and looking nice, as you can see. So this is definitely a little bit lighter compared to the black band that you'll find on the new Series 11. So just to give you a quick idea of how the two compare. And this is, of course, to match the aluminum color here on the SE 3. Let's go ahead and bring the watch to life here as we attach the band. So the band mechanism has not changed at all over the years, and I'm grateful that it hasn't, because there's so many different bands to choose from, and I think this mechanism is super easy, very reliable, and also secure. Okay, so that is going to be the 40mm version. Now let's quickly unbox the larger 44mm version as well. And while I talk you through the new features of the series, the SE 3, and one of the biggest features that is new to the SE 3 is going to be an always-on display. This is actually a really big deal, because previously this was only left for the more expensive series Apple Watches, right? The Series 11, 10, 9, 8, I think all the way back to the Series 5. And this here is a really big upgrade, because it will allow you to see the time at any time. So even when your wrist is down like this, your screen won't be black. It will still show the time. And I think that is a really nice feature, a premium feature that I'm very glad to see here on the more value or budget, I guess, version of the Apple Watch. Now, what is also cool is that we get the same S10 chip on the SE 3. That's going to be the same chip that we get on the more premium Series 11. And this is important because this means that the SE 3 should perform really well in terms of your apps. And I think even more importantly than that, it should also last for a long time, because it should get many years of software support, updates, as well as new features. And here we go. This is the larger 44mm version here. Kind of losing track as I'm telling you about the features while I'm unboxing. Don't want to forget here that we have this beautiful new 44mm version as well. And let's bring that to life here. And while we let that boot up, let's take a look at the watch band. So I went for the same Midnight Sports Band. Quickly take that out. There it is. Voila, looking good. Oh, and of course we have the same charger and paperwork included here on the 44mm version as well. And here we go. So this is both sizes side by side. The 40mm version here on my left and the larger 44mm version here on the right. Now, a couple of more noteworthy features is that, of course, we have double the storage on the SE3. So we go up from 32 gigabytes up to 64. We also get some new health features like, for example, sleep apnea detection, as well as being able to get a sleep score and a temperature sensor. And then lastly, if you do have the cellular version of the SE3, it will now support 5G. So all of these really add up to big improvements to the previous SE2, and I think it's even more impressive that they have kept the entry price the same as last year. But okay, let me clear up the desk here and put both watches on my wrist so we can take a closer look at how the sizes compare. And we are back. As you can see, I've got both watches here on my wrist, the 40mm version on my left and the 44mm version on my right. Now, I do have a more in-depth size comparison video that will be coming, in which I will also take a look and see how watchOS compares on the two watches, as this is an area where the two sizes really differ. You also have some pretty big advantages and disadvantages with both. But in this case here, I do want to give you a quick look at how the physical size compares on my wrist to give you an idea of which size may be best for your wrist. Now, personally, I have 155mm wrist, so you can see how your wrist compares in size. And I would say if your wrist is similarly sized to mine, you're probably going to be best off going with the smaller 40mm version. And the reason for that is I think this smaller 40mm version looks more proportionate on the wrist. It's going to be easier to slide under the cuff. This is especially great if you're wearing, for example, a suit. And overall, it just looks a little bit more like a timepiece, like a watch, compared to, say, more of a computer or a gadget on my wrist. So there is some personal preference here, but again, for me, from a more of a I guess fashion standpoint, I think the 40mm version will be best. And if your wrist is larger than mine, I would say I have small to medium sized wrists. If your wrists are on the larger end, the 44mm version may be the perfect size for you. But what I will say, over the years, I think Apple has really perfected the two sizes to a point where if you have average size wrist, you really can't go very wrong with either. There are, of course, advantages and disadvantages to both, not to mention that the smaller version is also a little bit more affordable. But overall, if you have a wrist similar to mine, I would lean towards that smaller size. Now I want to talk about the buying options. So these here are going to be very similar to what I chose for the Series 11, which I just unboxed before. But in this case here, let's talk about the different options and choices that I made for the SE3, because there are so many different options to choose from. And I think if you are new to the Apple Watch, especially, this right here is the best setup, and let me tell you why. So first of all, the SE3 now comes in two colors. We have midnight and also silver. Both are going to be made out of aluminum, and as you can see, I decided to go for midnight, and there's many different reasons for this, but the biggest is that the midnight color is just most versatile, right? This darker look is going to suit any occasion, any outfit. You can also pair it with pretty much any band, and it will never look out of place. It's a color that you're never going to get tired of, and I also like how it's just a little bit different from a typical black color, as it does have that hint of blue, which especially in the sun does kind of come out, and I think that really makes this color look very classy. So between the silver and the midnight, I would definitely go for the midnight, and it's kind of similar for the bands, right? As you can see, I paired the midnight watch with the midnight band. You'll see here, this really is an iconic duo. The two, I think, pair really, really nicely. They go hand in hand. This watch band here in particular is the sports band, and I also chose this in midnight. And again, this here is such a versatile band that is just so great to wear. It is super, super comfortable on the wrist, both during workouts or say to wear all day in the office. This band here is fantastic. I've used these for years. They're also very durable. I like how they're also waterproof, so you can just take off the band after a workout, put it in some dish soap and some water to let it clean overnight, for example. So really, really great band that I definitely recommend you pair. And again, because that color midnight is just so versatile, it's gonna look really, really great on your Apple Watch SE3 and never be out of place. Now, one more tip I have for this band in particular is that the sports band also comes in a solo loop version. Now, the solo loop version sounds really cool in practice because you just have one size, but the downside is you have to get the perfect size for your wrist. And this is a difficult thing to do because your wrist kind of switches or changes sizes depending on the season or what it is you're doing. So for example, during a summer workout, your wrist will be a little bit bigger and you may want to have a slightly larger size. And then in the winter, your wrist will be a bit smaller, in which case you want to wear your your watch a bit tighter. So that's why I decided to go with the typical buckle version of the series, of the sports band. And as you can see, it is so quick to adjust. You can instantly on the fly adjust between so many different sizes, and you don't have to worry about buying multiple bands. So honestly, I would go with the buckle version here of the sports loop. That really is the perfect starter watch band, especially in midnight, paired here with the midnight case. Right, so now I want to bring in the Apple Watch SE 2 right here. You can tell this one's been used because it is not so clean. So here I've got the 40mm version side by side next to the 40 and 44mm versions of the SE 3. Now you'll see that the colors are going to be the same, so the watch band is the same both in midnight as well as the aluminum watch case. Check out also how well the aluminum watch case has held up here on my SE 2. I think it's held up really, really well. But in terms of the physical design here, they look to be identical, both in measurements as well as button layouts. Even the back, I think, yep, that looks pretty much the same as well. So let's talk about some of the biggest differences and reasons that you may want to be upgrading from the older SE2 over to the new SE3. And the biggest, like I said, is going to be that always on display. I think this was previously only associated here on the more expensive Series 11 Apple Watches, or Series 10, 8, 9 that I have here. This here is the Series 11, which I just unboxed as well. And to now have that feature on the SE3 is a really, really big plus. Makes the watch feel much more like a watch and less like a smartwatch, I think. Being able to see the clock on your wrist at all times is just really, really nice. And then on the SE3, we have the exact same S10 chip. So this is the same processor inside the Series 11 that we also get now on the SE3. And this will be a big upgrade compared to the S8 chip that's on the Series, the SE2. Now, why is this important? Well, this is important for many reasons. Of course, first of all, it's going to mean better performance day to day. So whether you're pulling up things like Maps, I know Maps is usually an app that can take a little bit of time on older Apple Watches. So that should now be much faster on the SE3. And secondly, of course, is longevity, right? Having a newer processor means it's going to have more years of software support, meaning this watch can last you longer. And that is very important when you're factoring in which Apple Watch to buy. And what is also neat is you now get gesture support on the SE, where you can sort of tap your fingers like this to scroll through notifications or dismiss timers. It's a really cool feature, something I use quite often if, say, my hands are full or I'm busy and I quickly need to dismiss something. Just use that tap gesture. Works really, really well. I also like that you have double the base storage. This is great if, say, you have a lot of offline music. I've got quite a lot of music on my watch that I like to listen to when I'm away from my phone. This way I can download a lot more. And you also get some new health features, which again are going to be really, really great. And I know from reading your comments are big reasons for why people buy the Apple Watch. And lastly, you have 5G connectivity, which is always a plus as well. But of course, with this being an Apple Watch, you also still get many of the amazing Apple Watch features, and are actually the things that I use most in my day-to-day. So first is being able to see and receive important notifications right on the wrist without being taken out of my work or getting distracted by scrolling on Reels or TikTok. So for that, the Apple Watch is truly fantastic. I love the ability to be able to do heart rate monitoring on my wrist as well to review this data, particularly say after a workout. Now, one feature you won't get on the SE3 that you only get on the Series 11s is going to be ECG monitoring, or if you want to take an ECG. So whether that's important to you will depend, but it's important to know that the SE3 does not have this. But what the SE3s do have is, of course, good old workout tracking. Really great, really motivational to be able to fill those activity rings throughout the day. It definitely makes me more active. Siri on the wrist is great too, to quickly set a timer while you're cooking or create a reminder. And of course, crucial safety features like crash and fall detection are also going to be available on the SE3. I said something similar in my Series 11 unboxing video, but the same really is true, so I'm going to say it again. I love wearing an Apple Watch. I've been wearing Apple Watches ever since the Series 3, and I've been upgrading every year, and I really enjoy wearing an Apple Watch, not necessarily because it does things that my phone can't do, but instead it takes some of the things that my phone does and does them better, right? Adding more convenience to my life and also making me healthier with all those health features, gamifying workouts and filling out those activity rings. I think overall, the Apple Watch has just been a great contribution to my day-to-day life. And the fact that you can now get the SE3 for just $249, like I said, this really is an attractive value proposition. I think you're going to get a lot of watch for your money. So I can't wait to start using and testing the Apple Watch SE 3. This looks to be a really compelling upgrade, even if you're coming from an SE 2 or especially an SE 1. But I think even if you're coming from, say, a series Apple Watch like a Series 4, Series 5, today the difference between the SE and the series Apple Watches is smaller than ever. Like, for example, you get that always-on display, right? And a better processor, higher storage, etc. So they are really going to be similar. And again, the price of that SE 3 is just going to be so hard to beat. But I will leave all of my thoughts for my review video, which is coming up. I've also got a comparison video, which I'll do between the SE3 and SE2, as well as the SE3 and the more expensive Series 11 and even the Apple Watch Ultra. So I'll leave all my thoughts for those videos. I've got lots of Apple Watch videos coming out, but once again, for $249, it's going to be hard to beat the SE3. So let me know if you have any questions at all about the SE3 or if there's anything in particular you'd like me to cover. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.